You're listening to the Ontos podcast, where we explore the natures of stories in the pursuit of being in truth. I'm Vaud,
And I'm Mac.
and our sentience depends on you. Now cue the intro music.
So we've already kind of discussed what the Cosmere is or why you should read the Cosmere. Now let's kind of talk about where we talked about starting the Cosmere. So we have an official reading list. You can listen to the next episode to listen to us debate it, but it is full on spoilers in that episode. So I'd prefer if you didn't, unless you really just want to hear us debate it. But you're going to get a lot of spoilers there. But this reading list is what we're going to try to go by with future episodes, so that we can have, if you've read up to a certain book, then you can expect potential spoilers for the previous books. So why don't you give us the reading list, Vod?
Yeah, going forward, we're going to go ahead and start with Mistborn, the Final Empire, move on to Well of Ascension, the Hero of Ages, and then go into the 11th Metal. After that, we're going to read the Scadrial Essays, go into White Sands 1 through 3, then the Taldane Essays. Going from there, we'll move into Elantris and the Hope of Elantris, Emperor's Soul, and the Cell Essays. After that, we will start with the Mistborn Secret History, before we start Mistborn Era 2, starting with the Alloy of Law, Alamancer Jack, Shadows of Self, and Bands of Mourning. Going from there, we'll go to Shadows for Silence, The Six of the Dusk, Warbreaker, and then we'll start the Stormlight Archives with Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Edge Dancer, Oathbringer, Dawn Shard, and Rhythm of War. We'll go on to the Rashar Essay, and then the Theridine Essay.
Threnody.
Oh, Threnody, my bad.
I know. I always stumble upon that myself. Yeah. Now, in the debates that we had about how we're going to do our reading list, and there are many reading lists out there. The reason that we kind of settled this down, well, first off, one thing we both agreed on was to start with Mistborn.
Yeah, it was an excellent book to start with, an excellent series to start with. I myself found it going through Brandon Sanderson's lectures, and it's personally what he said you should start with. And I gave it a shot, and it was an absolute amazing introduction into the Cosmere itself. It was a perfect introduction to his writing style when it comes to fighting. It was a great introduction into how simple or how complex his magic systems can be. It was an awesome self-contained first story that you were happy to stop there and you were happy to continue it. And it was a self-contained series itself that eventually would connect this large universe, the Cosmere.
And that's kind of like, I think the whole point was that it's a perfect taste of what you can expect everything else to be. And like you said, like it's the Mistborn, the first book, Fallen Empire, is a perfectly contained book on its own. The series itself, perfectly contained series. So if you just are like, I'm done, fine. You will not have wasted your time or not have set anything up. But I mean, I think it nails everything. But I think the other point is that, if I was going to introduce it to someone, this is how I'd introduce it. But also, I think a lot of people who get introduced to the Cosmere are probably going to be introduced because of Mistborn.
Yeah, that is definitely a fair statement.
That's how I did it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's how, I want to say you found it before I found it. You just started the books a lot slower than me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, going into it a little bit more in depth, like we said, the reason I think it's a perfect introduction to Sanderson's magic systems in this case is it's one of the simpler ones, at least to understand.
Yeah.
And even though it's simple, it doesn't mean it doesn't have depth. I love watching that it has almost a scientific nature to it, and that is a big deal in Sanderson. I've just found with his magic systems in general, he likes to tell you why they work, and more importantly, he loves to put limitations in his magic system, which might be different from fans who are normally fans of fantasy coming to Sanderson. A lot of his magic systems have a lot of limitations, and through those limitations, he's able to make them better, make them more awesome, make them feel. It makes the characters who can use them in really creative or really powerful ways, it makes them feel like they're more of an expert in what they're doing rather than snap your finger, magic system, it's solved.
Right, and honestly, I think that's how he like gets the reader involved too, because it's like, okay, it has these limits, so you also are able to think your way through these problems, and that's one of the great things about a lot of Sanderson's work, but especially in Mistborn, a lot of the problems that are there, you could solve them just knowing the rules that the characters know themselves. Um, and like you said, like it's a solid magic system that you can sit on, that you can easily consume. It's a great introduction overall. And so that's why it was pretty much a slam dunk to start with Mistborn.
Yeah, the magic system itself encourages like fast-paced fighting scenes, and I don't know about you, we can think of a couple of different novels, not to harp on like let's say Dune for example, but if the author does not write a well or does not do well with writing fast-paced fighting scenes, a lot of times, the story can suffer sometimes. And Sanderson's
confusing.
Yeah, it's just confusing. And Sanderson's magic system encourages, at least the one in Mistborn, encourages really fast-paced fighting, and you get to see the skill he has in being able to put together these fight scenes where they flow like butter. It's so smooth.
I'm honestly surprised.
Yeah, you understand everything, and I don't want to get too much into it. We're going to talk about it more when we get to Mistborn, but the magic systems themselves, when you kind of see what they have to do to use them, you immediately think, at least that's what I thought. I was like, there's no way these fight scenes are going to be smooth at all, but they are great.
Yeah, and I mean that it really is a really solid thing. The other reason we kind of like settled on this reading list the way it is, in my opinion and in our debate, I will always want to make sure that book 3, or there's not going to be something in book 3 that you're going to miss because you didn't read book 4. It's always going to be in an order of, okay, when you read these books in this order, you're so that you can catch all the little things that came in from the previous books. I didn't want to go, oh yeah, when you read Secret History, but you hadn't read Elantris yet, then you're not going to miss something that may have showed up in Elantris that showed up in Secret History, or something that showed up in Stormlight that showed up in Warbreaker, or whatever. You always want to be able to like read the books and know that you have the opportunity to pick all the little details out. And so this reading order is set up so that it may not be like in the perfect chronological order that way things go, and they're not like in publishing order, but they are set up in a way that if you read it in our order, you're going to be set up to catch all the little details along the way. And that's what I'm excited for on our read-alongs, is that we can say, oh yeah, these little, we can know, like when we say, notice this guy or notice that thing, yeah, that was from this book.
Yeah, did you catch character A from book C?
Exactly. And so I think this is the optimal way to set all that up. So that's pretty much the reading order. And we'll move forward with that. So just if you have any ways to awkwardly end an episode, then...
I mean, I guess I would just say, if at any point this is the episode to come back and reference, if you are catching us later in the series or earlier, just to know, hey, what should you be looking to read next, especially if you pass us up, because some of these books we're going to try releasing on a normal schedule, but I wouldn't be surprised if you outpace us pretty quickly because they're that good.
Yeah, it can be. And so we'll do best we can to try to reference, what books we're going to be talking about if we do get into spoiler territory, but this will be our official reading list.
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Hey guys, Vaud here. Thanks for listening to the Ontos podcast. You'll start to see regularly scheduled episodes starting November 14th, 2022. And if you'd really like to follow us, please consider subscribing. We're a very small project, so please support us with likes and comments, because that's what the algorithm craves. If you're listening on the YouTube channel, please hit the notification bell. And if you want to really give us a boost, consider supporting us on Patreon, because I really need to better my English.